to be able to hear me with no problem. If you've got anything to say, you're going to have to speak up with voice volume and enthusiasm so everybody can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, at this time, we'll call the meeting to order. And we start off with the invitation by Mr. Tim Sissel.
Okay. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day, for this opportunity to meet together. And Father, we just ask that you guide us in our meeting, that you'll go before us, and help us as we discuss the business of the community, Father. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
One last shot for any area reps that have not signed in yet. Excellent. Need a motion for the approval of the last month's minutes?
So moved.
Mary Ann Kurtz made the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Linda Pearson seconded it. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approval?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The two area reps that are representing two areas, did you get your paddles?
Didn't know we had it.
Oh, fun time, fun time. First the paddles.
Get used to the band. Everybody remember what the paddles were for? No, not to whack anybody. Anybody not remember what they were for? Oh, it's the area reps of need. Which color is which?
Doesn't matter. For the area reps who represent two areas, in order for them to represent each of their areas appropriately, they need to be able to identify what they're doing. And everybody else understands that when they see the paddle, that's an area rep that represents two areas. They aren't getting two votes because they want to. It's because they're representing two areas. Let's say, for example, I'll pick on Peggy because she is representing two areas, and it's 10 and 11, 9 and 10. Okay, so she's representing areas 9 and 10. Nicely enough, area 9 wants to vote in favor of something, and area 10 says no. Well, whenever she puts her paddle in the air for the aye or yes, you know that one of the areas is getting voted yes, and whenever the nays come up, she raises her paddle. So everybody knows that she is voting for her two areas. If both areas vote yes, then she just simply spins it a little bit, and we know that that's 2 counts. If they vote no, she spins it a little bit, and we know that that's 2 votes against. Any questions? Excellent. Okay. So, minutes have been approved. Now we come to the treasurer's report.
There has been no activity in the treasury since last month, therefore the balance remains the same at $810.34.
All right, outstanding. We now come to the committee's reports. Do we have any reports from the security advisory team? Negative report. Emergency preparedness. Because I've been appointed as the honcho of the emergency preparedness committee, We're looking at locking in on a specific day of the week throughout the year, etc., such that anybody that wants to come and pay attention to what's going on in the Emergency Preparedness Committee can do so. That'll be announced in the newsletter, updates, etc., in the calendar, And we're currently sitting at 15 members of the Emergency Preparedness Committee. What we have done in the last meeting is there was a list, about 3 pages long, of various things like debris removal, medical issues, etc., etc. And I asked different participants of the committee to take on a task, flesh it out, so we can help Craig start writing the emergency preparedness plan for the village. It's 15 members right now, but that does not mean you or your area residents cannot put in for that information or provide us guidance. As a matter of fact, one resident, Karen Kennedy, and Joe Winnery were directly instrumental in writing the emergency preparedness program for the little village of Wren, out west of Philomath. And they were kind enough to give us a copy of, or give me the link to that documentation. I pulled it off of the web, and we're going to be reviewing that such that maybe we don't have to recreate the wheel in our operations. So that's where we're standing, and things are continuing to percolate and move along. And I'll be talking about some other things as we get closer or later into the program. You know it, my bloody iPad just started to give me, oh, there it is. Okay, so that's it for emergency preparedness. Grounds Committee.
Still, the orchard's still a go. We're going to have orchards planted out east of the garden, and we're just waiting to buy the bare root trees and the ground to dry out so we can dig some holes and then plant it.
Excellent. Garden Committee.
I don't know if you can hear me. We've got all of the raised beds that are available reassigned, and if there's anybody else that wants to give theirs up, let me know. We're still short about 3. But Jeff has his eye on some that he can move, but it'll be March or April probably for those are available. And the trees have been purchased.
All right.
I didn't hear, how many trees were purchased?
12.
12? Excellent, excellent. Is there anything from the Pet Committee? I guess not. Okay. As you can tell, we've got a pretty full agenda today, and before I hand it over to Donna, I'm going to tell you that we have discussed, requested, and hopefully they will deign to come to meet us once a month, the folks that are in charge of Quail Run, Lydia's House, and Mennonite Home. Even if they don't have any pearls of wisdom to throw at us, at least they will come hear what's going on, and if they see something that might need to be addressed, they can do so. So it's our hope that you'll be able to participate on a monthly basis. Okay, so at this point in time, I'm going to turn it over to Donna.
I'll see if I can talk as loudly. I'll try my best.
You're a mother, right?
Yeah, I am a mother, and I'm a wife, too. That's probably better.
You can do it, girl.
So I wanted to talk about the interim search and then the priorities for the interim. But first, I just wanted to clarify something about our board composition. And recently, I know in at least one conversation, there was discussion about the composition of the board members at Mennonite Village. And the comment was the board members no longer have to be Mennonite. And I want to explain that that isn't exactly accurate. We started working with the board probably a year ago. Everything is kind of clouded with COVID. And we really talked about how important it is to have kind of a broad spectrum of a variety of professional experts on your board that can help govern and make decisions. And the board also recognizes that, we don't necessarily have a lot of legal counsel in the Mennonite Church. And we have some doctors, but not a lot. And so what the board decided to do, 25% of our board members may be non-Mennonite, but we did create a document that's about our Anabaptist values, because it's very important that any board member understands the history of Mennonite Village and understands what the Anabaptist values are about. So I just wanted to clarify that. One of the positive things I think that COVID has helped us identify is it's okay to do board meetings virtually. Sometimes I think we can actually have a deeper discussion, and we can have our masks off and see each other's faces through a computer. So I just wanted to clarify that. So I can't tell you who the interim is yet because details are being worked on, but I can tell you that I know this person well, and I'm so excited if this person says yes. This person is very bright, very capable. They've been in senior living for probably as long as I have. They get master planning, they get resident input. Last week I had the privilege of spending 2.5 hours with them, and we drove through campus. I got to talk about the challenges. I got to talk about the incredible team that we have at Mennonite Village. I got to talk about all of you and just what a great body of residents you are. And I think they're going to say yes. And again, I'm not trying to be cryptic, but I can't really tell you any more than that, except I can tell you that I will be proud to pass on the baton to this person if they say yes. And I think you all will be very, very pleased. So this person is from Oregon. This person, again, has been doing senior living for quite some time. So I think it'll be really, really positive. The priority tasks for the interim will, again, to help support our team, which are pretty amazing people. But I did get a chance to talk about master planning, and I told the person that, COVID really threw a wrench in all of that, and that's not an excuse, it's simply a reality. So I want you all to know that the group has surfaced again with Baker Tilly, and Baker Tilly is the group out of Pennsylvania, and they help not-for-profits all over the United States. And so we hope that this process will start. Craig Glasser is intimately involved with it, and the other leadership team members will be involved as their areas are discussed. And so the goal or the challenge is how to get resident input and keep you engaged in this world of COVID that we live in. So that's important. I also talked to the interim about one of the things that I hope you all feel, I think it's been a really positive change, is the importance of having resident input, the importance of focus groups, the importance of our leaders getting input from the residents about making decisions, about changes on campus. This person embraces that. I can't share again my enthusiasm and confidence that all of that's going to continue, and probably even more so. So I'm smiling under my mask of hands. I don't know if you have any questions. There's not a lot more I can tell you other than what I've shared.
When would we know that person may be?
So the question was, when will we know? I'm hoping that it's announced by the end of this week or next week at the earliest, because my last day is the 18th. I know the key board members and decision makers have spent time with this person, so I know that they're just talking through some logistics at the first part of this week. So one of the things that maybe some of you remember prior to COVID is we used to have what's called a campus connection. And a campus, Ray, are you shaking? I hope you're shaking your head yes that you remember. I hope somebody in the room remembers. Just shake your head yes, no matter. Okay. So Campus Connection was a time that the administrators from the different care areas, our dining services person, Craig. Sometimes Craig Spivey would come, it just depends on what we were talking about. But we met in Lakeside Center, and it was an opportunity for the different leaders from the different care areas to just share with you what's going on. You could ask questions. Often there are just some myths about how you get into a building or how things might work, and it was a good time to be able to clarify. Well, again, with COVID, we didn't really have a way to do that, and so the suggestion was made that the administrators could come to the council meeting, and so we have an administrator at Quail Run, an administrator at Lydia's house, and an administrator at the Mennonite home. And so what we wanted to throw out is one of them will come, like Megan is here today. In March, it will be Kendra or Beth, and then in April, it will be the other one. And then, so once every 3 months, they'll be here. And it just gives you a chance to ask questions. No questions will be off limits, and then they can clarify for you. So Megan Taylor, come on up, Megan. Megan has been a part of Quail Run since 2017. She started as a student nurse, and then we hired her as a nurse, and then Megan accepted the role of administrator back in July, and she took her test and successfully passed. Megan's been doing caregiving roles, senior living for how many decades, Megan?
Well, like 5 decades now. I always get, you're really young, and I have kids that are in their 20s, so yeah, I've been in healthcare for over 20 years. I started right out of high school, so it's passionate. I had, my grandma grew up, basically was from the time she was in her 30s in assisted living, so my whole family always spent time in assisted living, so I have a unique perspective as a family member and a nurse and administrator, and so it's really helped my leadership role and some familiar faces. I've taken care of some of your guys' family, friends, so
Well, I'm
really happy.
going to sit down and let you talk.
All right.
But I just want to clarify that we do not have a waiting list at Quail Run because things are full. We need to get rid of that language because we actually have, is it 14, 12 empty
Yeah,
apartments?
14.
Okay. So Megan's going to share, and then you can ask questions about Quail Run.
Thank you.
Yep.
So, like I said, I'm Megan, and I've been over there about 5 years now, and the last couple of years have been really up and down for everybody, but as far as our admissions go, we are still open. We're still being creative with interacting safely with people. We have right now about 87 residents. We're looking to move in a handful within the next month. Although the one bedroom is usually the most coveted apartment, we do have a lot of studios that are really beautiful. We're constantly changing and moving and things are happening, so you can call us on April 1st and we may have something different on, July 1st. So a lot of things change and sometimes people downsize. We really have open doors, and I'm very social, so I like to meet family and I like to meet the villagers and have you just stop by and check out what we've done over the last couple of years. It also brings lots of joy to our residents who sometimes can't get out of the building to see faces, and they light up when they see their old neighbors. I think that's one of the best things, or one of my favorite things, is when new people move in, they get to form those relationships with their old neighbors. So we really appreciate you guys dropping by to say hi, or, I get that everybody wants to be careful, but once the sun starts shining more like today, having social events outside, I work really close with Craig. And so we talk a lot about having get-togethers and things. Even at Christmas time, we had our light show and hot chocolate. So the move-in process is very easy. I work really closely with Sue, with Jennifer, with all of the people, the marketing people, Hannah and Craig. And so you guys probably are more familiar, comfortable talking with them. So if you have a question or inquiry or a neighbor you're worried about that maybe needs some help, if you can't reach me, feel free to reach out to them and they know how to get me right away. Even if it's not right now that you are inquiring, but you're thinking of maybe in the next few months or even the next year, I'm more than happy to take time to walk through the process with you. And really it just starts with an application. Once you fill that out, then I actually myself come meet with you at your house and ask questions. And then once that happens, we just decide on a date and a time for you to move and pick out obviously the apartment that you like. Right now is a good time because we have lots of options. We have lots of different areas in the building. And we're really excited to, like I said, welcome new people, or even if you're just curious, to come look and see what we're about and see some of your old neighbors. So with that, I know in the past we've used the word wait list. We don't have a wait list. We really have a standby list is what I like to call it, because right now with staffing, as you know, all over the country, there's a shortage of staff in every aspect of living. So we have to make sure that we're safe and that we have quality of care, because I pride our building on that. Our staff take that, very seriously. So we would never want to move people in if we couldn't give them the care that they need. So sometimes we have a little bit of a wait just so that we can make sure we have enough staff on duty to take care of those needs. So our standby list would be more used than a wait list, because we have lots of room in our house for you guys and we want you to come by. So I'm happy to answer any questions any of you guys have about that.
I have, when I go out walking and I decide I want to get coffee, can I come over and buy coffee from you?
So that would be a good question for our dining. I don't know about purchasing coffee, how that works, but we have coffee there, and I'm sure one of our staff would be happy to go in and get you a cup of coffee and talk with you.
Thank you.
So, but I don't think that we charge for coffee, do we?
Not from Quail, no.
Yeah.
At the coffee house, it's a little different.
Yeah.
But the doors are open.
Yes, the doors are open for you to come in and say hi.
Coffee's always on.
Yeah. So even if you want to just take a seat, it's a long walk across campus and back sometimes, so even if you just want to sit and visit with us, the doors are always open.
Can we eat with you yet?
That's something we're working really hard on, but because of the guidelines and the virus that's spreading rapidly right now, we really have to limit. So we're all the staff are still packing their lunches and bringing them, and we're trying to kind of eat separated still, but we're going to keep updated, and Dinah can update you guys on that too when that happens. We'll make sure we get the word out.
So I'm still a little cautious about visiting my friends, since there are so many positive COVID tests there.
Yes.
So
So
what do you say?
I know that that's a concern, I think about that too, like coming to work, how to be the safest. And so I know that we hear about the cases, but then in a building of 87, if we only had, say, 2 cases, that's 85 people that aren't sick. So in order to take precautions, we sanitize, we follow the guidance. You can see I'm in scrubs. That's because I was helping as a caregiver the last couple of days. So whenever we have somebody who's feeling ill, we remove them from duties, we fill in, we all jump in, and we make sure that we social distance. So there's safe ways to do it. We just have to trust in the PPE process that we're wearing these, we're sanitizing our hands, and making sure we screen you with our screening tools. So if you were to come by with no fever, no symptoms, your friend was there, they wanted to see you, we could have a conversation and just sit 6 feet apart and find a safe place for you that was, cleaned. Our housekeepers are amazing, so they're always cleaning. I always think when I go to Costco or Safeway and I grab the shopping cart, I'm touching a dirty cart that who knows who touched before me. So it's just always being mindful and safe about washing hands and cleaning, and then making sure you're not embracing or pulling your mask down. So I would say it's safe as long as we're smart about it. And we can help provide that. All of our staff are trained on that. So yes, I think that personally, mental health and emotional health are very important too. So to see your family and friends really makes a huge difference, just even a 5-minute interaction. So even if we kept the visit small and maybe not, hours long, but just a time to say hello and have that greeting, that means a lot, so.
Are most of your vacancies the studios rather than one bedroom?
Yes, because we have a limited amount of one bedrooms. Like I said, when everybody moves first into there, they usually are coming from a home that's a lot bigger. So ideally, people move into a one bedroom. And then they find that they really don't utilize the one bedroom, so then they downsize to a studio. So yes, we traditionally have more studios available, but some of my favorite apartments are studios because of the view. And really, if you're not having to do your own laundry, you're not having to cook, you really don't need a whole lot of stuff in there. So I would say that each apartment looks a little bit different. So before deciding against a studio, I would recommend going and looking at them to see if maybe things could fit. But yes, we have plenty of studios, and occasionally we have one bedroom.
Is there any plan to convert some of the studios? I just had a neighbor who just moved, and she couldn't get a one-bedroom in Quail, so unfortunately she went someplace else.
Yeah, that would be something we would have to discuss, obviously, as a company and with maintenance and building. I know there's regulations that our assisted living has to follow that is different from other areas, so we have to follow those regulations. And I know that the building is probably, 25 years old, so I know some of the rooms used to connect, and there was a door that would pass through, but I'm not sure that in the near future that would be something that we're looking at, maybe hopefully in the not too far future.
If somebody moves into a studio but wanted a one bedroom, can they later, if something becomes available, move?
Yes, of course, but I always make sure I communicate with people that we never can tell when that will happen because there has to be a vacancy. So I can see where the word wait list would kind of be used in that situation, where if you moved in with the intention of waiting for the next one bedroom. We've done that before, so.
Because sometimes a movement isn't anticipated that far ahead.
Yes, yeah.
So you might have to take what you can get.
Exactly, so if there's an urgent need, just so you can get care, because honestly, what I've seen is I'll go into some of the village homes and people have waited so long that they're weak and they're tired, and by the time they get to us, it's almost kind of beyond being able to help with therapy and stuff, and they're just worn out. And so I would rather the people that need our service and our support to move as soon as they need us so that we can help and keep them healthy and keep them active and keep supporting them. And then if the bedroom comes up that they want, we can move into that. So our refurb program is great, and they're very quick about getting things turned around. So.
How many units are open right now, and what is your full capacity?
So that's a good question. We have technically our census right now with residents is 87. We have 14 open rooms. One of those is actually the nurse's office, so we kind of take that off. So I would say to be able to live in, we have about 10 open apartments. One bedroom's being refurbished, and the rest are studio apartments. But ready to move in right now, if 6 people needed to move in, we have about 6 apartments that would be ready to go. I met with somebody just before I was here that's hoping to get one, and then I have 2 more scheduled in the next week. So you can see where, I don't know if it's springtime or what, but everybody's ready to move. So it's been happening pretty fast. Any other questions? I can just tell you guys that I've worked a lot of places, and Quail Run has been a home to me. I never intended in my internship to obviously move up to administrator, but seeing the work that our team does to work together, even dining, I mean, we have dining people helping answer call lights and us in the kitchen trying to help deliver trays, and we always come together. This weekend I was here working, helping the caregivers to give them a break. And our team is just so good that I know that your needs would be met there, no matter what. I hear a lot of stories about, places that, they have to wait hours for food and hours to get help to the bathroom. And our team are very dedicated to making sure that your needs are met. And they're very, very loving and truly care. And they will go the extra mile. So I'm very proud of that. And we're really excited to welcome anybody, even if you guys have family or friends. We're really happy to have you come meet with us. And we've got a lively bunch of people over there, so they're looking for people to play cards, and they watch lots of movies, and there's just lots of fun things they're doing over there, because we've had to be creative with COVID to try to find new things to do, since our group meetings are a little smaller. Any other questions? I have some business cards if anybody wants me to leave them with my office number and email. Or you can always get in touch with Sue or Jennifer, and they know how to reach me as well.
We can leave them with Jennifer. Okay. How about if she leaves her business cards with Jennifer, and then we can get those to you on the way out if you need them?
Well, it's nice to see you all and meet you.
Thank you, Megan.
All right, some of you may remember me from last month. I'm Melinda, I'm the dining director. I was made aware that some folks don't know that we still do meals out of Ashwood. Even though our dining room there is closed currently to outsiders, for you folks, we are still doing meal delivery or meal pickup for lunch and dinner. So that is still available. The coffee house is also still open. You just have to call ahead to make that order. They would have that ready for you when you came through, or you can stop at Quail and get a cup of coffee. The other thing I want to kind of talk about, is due to, our obvious precautions that we have to take for our residents that live at Ashwood, their census is actually increasing. So now it's becoming, it's more. We have to make the room for them to maintain that social distancing. So, but for that, we are now, we kind of did a little trial run last Friday, but for the first Friday of the month, we are going to be doing a specialty dinner to kind of help promote and give more opportunities for you. Last Friday we did prime rib, if anybody's seen that on the menu. That was actually campus-wide, so every resident had that option, so that we've never done that before. Prime rib has always been strictly an Ashwood Friday night dinner thing, but we kind of opened it up to our Quail folks and those folks at the home. So, but moving forward, we'll have specialty dinners like that, so I hope that you guys take advantage of that. We really do pride ourselves in our food. For those of you that have tried and been a part of or dined at Ashwood prior to COVID, they do miss you as much as you miss them. Dawn talks about a lot of people and how she misses a lot of you. So just keep in mind that we are doing our best to try to open that up, but it's not an easy task right now, especially with the increase in the spread. So if anybody has any questions, yes.
Are the lunch specials back? I understand they came one day and then it's shut down.
Well, yes, that did happen. So I've talked with them, and we are looking into bringing the specials back that are available to the village. We did that when we opened things back up for staff meals, and then my staffing went away in a real hurry. So we kind of took that off the table, but I know Martin's pretty excited about getting that back up and running, so I think we're going to start that back up, not this next week, but the following week. That date would be the 24th-ish, something like that. So look for those. Yes.
Your predecessors had the quarterly coffee with dining services meetings. Are you thinking of reinventing those?
Yes, we could. We could talk about that. I think did you guys meet at Ashwood?
We did, but
Okay.
there's other places.
Right, absolutely. Okay, that was something, I'll get you my contact info. and we can talk about that and move forward, something like that. Yes, ma'am.
And I'd say that we really need 2 waiters at Ashwood if you have a lot of people calling in, because otherwise we waited 45 minutes today for our lunches.
Okay, and we know that, So what happens in dining is everybody, we have a few that are kind of cross-trained, right? So then what happens is that most of the time, we send that second person over to Quail, but we do know that occupancy is increasing, it's becoming more work for one person. We know that, we're fully aware of that. So, but when we are down to 2 servers over at Quail Run, I mean, and it's a real thing, right? I mean, Megan talks about, how she's covering. I've come in and many times covered, so however, I have been at Ash, which sometimes I think I should go there. It's might be a little less for me than doing dishes at Quail, but that is, we are focusing on that. We are getting staff in, that's great. And so that is getting better. Moving forward, hopefully we keep getting more applicants. Yeah.
If Mel wants to do dishes, can he do it? As a volunteer?
As long as I don't have to do fingerprinting and background check to wash dishes.
I think we can cover it. I think we're good. Yeah.
What happened to the little robots that brought the
What happened to the little robots? Well, I wasn't 100% involved in any of that, but what I do know is that the robot got lost a lot and would fall over, hit a curb. I had one time, my office is on the far end of the new part of the building, and I looked out, and he was stuck, but he was just doing a circle. And so everybody stopping and went up and was like trying to talk to it. Well, I didn't, like I said, did not know that much about it. Didn't realize that there was somebody up here at Essen House that was actually remotely controlling this robot. And so when I went outside, there was me and another gal went out, and it's like flashing these hearts on the face and smiling, and I was like, oh Lord, how goofy. Okay. And then we were trying to get it to go in the right direction because it needed to get back to the office, and it was like malfunctioning.
So it was very entertaining.
I'm sure it was, yeah, I mean, it was for me that day. So I don't know that would have been the most beneficial.
Oh, I'm sorry. I understand he was named after me, so I'm sorry.
Well, I am sorry.
Yeah.
We'll name a tree after you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Greg, you're up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Everybody's getting applause today. This is great. Yeah. All right, marketing report. Before I get into the marketing report, I just got to say one thing since Megan was up here. We sent out, I hope you all saw it, but I was pretty proud of this. All of our care areas last week received a national award, and we sent that out to everybody. And I can't overstate enough during this COVID time what a miraculous thing that was. Not just for one to get one, but all 3. And when you dig into the award, it was for many categories. Dining got it, housekeeping, I mean, there was a list. And so I think that was really something to be proud of, so I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, so village census. Right now, out in the village, we have 16 houses being refurbished. Of those, 14 are reserved or spoken for. Our Ashwood apartments, you kind of heard it from Melinda a little bit. We've had several move-ins into Ashwood, which has been great. At one point, we had 7 or 8 empty apartments. Now we just have 3, and there are 3 studios there. So So far this year, we've had four move-ins into the village, representing 5 people, 5 new residents. And we have 7 more move-ins scheduled for March. So coming up here pretty soon. Of those 16 houses, I know Craig's group is really aware of this. We're going to have several that are going to be closing really close. So we've got 7 scheduled move-ins for March. Currently, our independent living census is 395 folks in the village. As far as marketing efforts were concerned, in January we had 25 tours, and that's higher than average, which is good. Give you an idea, last January we had 5. Of course, that was COVID, so we had 25. We've had 11 applications, new applications here recently, and our wait list is currently at 95. So we have 95 people on the wait list. Okay, so I was also asked about our resident homepage on the website. And in particular, to take a look at some of, what's the usage been like, right? So in 2021, just to let you know, and this is unique, you're all unique, but this is unique individuals going on the website. We average about 249 residents going on the website, on the resident portal every month. And when we look at the pages where you're going, the #1 page is for dining information, the menus, about 78 a month. That's followed by documents, which is all the policies, the handbook, all of those kinds of things. That's second, with about 21 a month. Meetings was third. The next was the media page, which basically has links to all of the videos, like this one, the Village Council, Town Hall, all of those was fourth. Our wellness programs was fifth. 6 was the Village Productions page with our village videos. And that's a little caveat there, because at the beginning of the year that was way up. But then we removed all of the village videos as it was a decision of the village video production group to just have I think we've got the links to the safety videos on there now, and also the recycling series that Diane Crooker did. So the village productions was 6, followed by area meetings was the 7th most visited page. And just to let you know, talking about those videos, the most viewed of the videos was the history series. A lot of you probably watched 169 views of those. These also obviously played on our channel too, so people saw them on the TV channel. The recycling series was second with 74, and the emergency preparedness has been kind of climbing. It's got 20 views on there so far. And if you haven't seen the new Go Bag one, that's pretty cool. I learned something on that one. Any questions? All right, thanks. I was wondering if I was going to get some applause. I was going to feel bad.
So COVID, the first thing on my list again. I don't know really what to share with you about COVID. Do you have any really burning questions for me as far as procedures or anything like that for COVID? Okay, good. I wanted to share with you guys that I'm always learning things. Every single day. If I don't learn something, then I better start over, right? So I learned that our board minutes used to be shared at the library before COVID. During COVID, the library got shut down, closed. So we talked about this, and it was very important that those board minutes get made to you again. We apologize that we have overlooked that. The board has been meeting. They meet every 2 months. the minutes are taken, and like this meeting, they need to be approved before they're shared. So every 2 months, the board minutes will be made available to you. We're going to do them like we did before as printed documents at the Books and Billiards at the library. There's apparently a notebook over there that will have the printed board minutes there. Now, mind you, it's going to be 2 months post the meeting. We're also going to make that available on the resident page for you. Mary's Place. So Jennifer and Craig Glasser and I, we've been checking out the Mary's Place space. And the team at Mennonite Village that's been involved with that has been working really hard. All of that extra stuff that's been over there, a lot of the extra stuff has already been removed. The different space rooms are already cleaned. We've got a couple of more things to get out of there, more large objects. We've been keeping some beds over there just in case we had staff that needed to stay, right? In case if they were healthy and willing to work but couldn't get back and forth because of something, we wanted to be able to provide to those staff members so that they would keep coming to work. We don't feel like we need that right now, or haven't up until recently. We're going to get all of that stuff taken out. And we're still thinking that we're going to be on the goal of the beginning of next month to be opened up, right? We're going to work real hard to get tables and chairs in there for you, the 5 small-ish areas, the bedrooms. I don't know what the number will be. We're going to have to work on that. It might be 3 people, it might be 4. We have to just do the measurements and calculations, but we plan on having some sort of a table and chairs in there for you. You don't have to tote your chair back and forth. The dining room table holds about 8 chairs, so probably about 4 or 6 people, considering distancing. And in the living room, we're just going to try to make it simple and comfortable for whatever you're going to want to use that for. But I encourage, as you use that space when it's open, if you have comments, suggestions that's going to make it better for you, just be sure to bring that in to Jennifer and myself, please. Okay, the Holleran survey. You guys remember that resident engagement survey in December? Well, your voices were heard. Let me tell you, 81.3% of you were heard. So of the 395 surveys that we mailed out, Holleran received 321 back. So that's really, really good. Holleran, Donna and I met with a representative this morning, and we reviewed all of those results and graphs and tables and numbers and statistics, and whew, that was a lot of information. But she did say that the average response is 75.3. And you guys were 81.3, so thank you, thank you. Okay, so let me just kind of read through here what I wrote down from the results so that I don't just mess it up. The results represent our community's performance compared to independent living communities within the Holleran benchmark. And that benchmark is a national collection of comparable factors and scores from their database of other independent living communities, different surveys. And that is, that benchmark, that collection is of 3 years. Now they do 3 years, and of course every year they have to roll over. So they're just coming up on a rollover. So they're looking at, we are compared to 18, 19, and 20. Okay, so not 2021. The benchmark all of that currently represents 38 states, 359 communities, or over 123,000 surveys. So you're part of a very large national benchmark. So our results, where we need, so there's four median studies. What were those called? There was 4 groups. Connection, we scored 26th percentile. And then in the fulfillment section, we scored in the 43rd percentile. And in voice, we scored 54th percentile. And in well-being, 63rd percentile.
Sue,
Question.
Did you say voice? Voice. So your voice. Okay.
Oh, voice?
Voice. Am I going too fast? Sorry. Our highest satisfaction scores were your overall satisfaction of Mennonite Village, the timely maintenance response, and upkeep to buildings. And our areas of strength, of course, were the overall satisfaction and the value for price paid. Okay, so those were our high marks. And then, and I think it's been shared with you that we really look at the top 3 and the lower 3, right? Where we need to celebrate and where we need to work on and improve for you. Our lowest scores were understanding the transition criteria. So we've already been working on how to improve on that. So, and this just shows that we definitely do. And then management of changes and quality of TV programming.
However, the quality of TV programming, it went up significantly from 14 and 11.
Correct.
So that made us happy that we went up, but it's still wrong.
And, yeah, definitely. So then our areas of opportunity were understanding the transition criteria, the management of changes, and safety and security of our grounds. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I totally understand all of these graphs and all of these numbers and scores and all of that, but I guarantee you I'll have a better understanding once we dive into this deeper. So I just want to tell you that, that's really the basis of that survey, that our strengths and our weaknesses, where we're going to improve. And going forward, staff, the team that's going to be working with that, we want to work with residents for improvement, an action plan to get better. So that team will be created. I hope I'm not in charge of creating that team, but some people will be invited to be part of the team to work with staff on making a plan moving forward to improve. Questions, Marianne?
I reject those low scores because it doesn't seem to address the fact that we've been living through COVID as residents and as staff. So I'd just like to go on record as rejecting.
Okay. We did talk about that this morning too, because where our scores are and where we were compared with their benchmark, and their benchmark did not include 2021, it only included 1 year of the pandemic, and so it really wasn't really equal, right? And Lisa was the lady's name from Holleran, and she did recognize that, and it's unfortunate that that's the way those years are overlapping, but that's just how it is right now, as far as their years.
For some reason, I didn't understand about Mary's place. I didn't know that there was a change being
So Mary's Place has been empty for a long time.
And are we going to use that as a meeting space?
Mary's Place is going to be available for residents, for you guys to use. You choose to come in and have a cup of coffee with a friend, you can do that. You choose to come in and visit with a friend. You know, it's an indoor space. There's 5 bedrooms at Mary's Place, which I don't want to really call them bedrooms anymore. I'm just going to call them like rooms. They're not big, but you can use them how you want. If you want to come in and set up a card table and play Yahtzee, if you want to come in and have a small numbers meeting, it's how it's going to work for you.
Do we need to reserve it?
I don't know yet.
And can we have our area meetings there?
If it's large enough, so there's no way possible an area meeting can meet in one of those 5 rooms. There just isn't room. Now, if nobody's in there, and let's say there's no reservations required, nobody's in there, your area comes in, and there's 10 of you in there in that large room, dining room, living room area, you could probably do that. Reservations, no reservations for those small rooms, I don't know yet. I mean, I don't want to, we want to keep track of how often it's being used, but I don't want to manage that really either. You just mentioned we can have coffee, so we can have drinks in there? Coffee is a drink?
Non-alcoholic.
No, what I'm saying is, every place else we aren't to have any drinks or food. Oh, gotcha.
Big difference. Drinks are permitted, food is not. So you can't eat your scone here, you have to take.
No, but we can't have coffee or anything in here. Right, and the purpose of this room really, as opposed to the dining room at Mary's Place, we're not gonna have exercise group over there. Here, we you know, the safety for your benefit of exercise class on this floor, we're not having food in here. Or drinks other than water in here. But what about the classroom? We're not supposed to have anything in there, is that my understanding? Right, you're correct. But Mary's Place, we can. Yeah, okay, I think so.
But you can have drinks in the classroom.
Yeah, that's a conflict of what's going to happen.
Okay, so we'll have to, I'll have to clarify that.
Is there room for a pool table there?
I would say there's probably not any more room than where it's currently at.
Some people have expressed the library isn't appropriate, should be somewhere else.
That's been said for years.
I know. That's why I asked if there was room.
Right.
14 years to be specific.
14 years to be exact. Barbara had a question?
Yeah, when this all gets put together, there's going to be some sort of information that says, this is what it's like, this is what you can and cannot do.
That's what I'm envisioning. We'll have
But this time, you're just talking about proposal. You're not saying this is what it is right now.
It'll be an open space for your use.
Right, but it's not open yet.
No.
You haven't opened it yet.
No, the goal is to have it open in March. We're hoping for early March, but we should be able to get there. Hold on 1 second. Dennis.
Is it possible to demo a wall and make 2 rooms into one larger one?
Right, so we've talked before about really not putting too much into that space just right out of the gate. Really looking to see how much are you going to use it? Is it going to be right for us to put that money into demoing a wall? If there's rooms being used and all the time, if there's requests for a larger number of people often, we're open to talking about putting some money into that and demoing a wall and taking 2 small rooms and making 1 large room for what you guys want to use it for.
So every
Yeah.
month, we should have area meetings, request meeting there.
Yeah.
That works.
That'll work.
Back to the hover run study, is there going to be a formal announcement with all this information so that everybody gets the same message?
A formal announcement
Well,
of,
for example, an article written in the update so that.
Give us the same information you just gave us.
okay, so the information that I just gave can be put into the minutes. And then if you want, yeah, we should probably have something in the update. Mel suggested a 981 segment. Yep. Okay. I'm trying to hustle through this. The AccuShield is our new screening process. We have 4 on campus. Quail Run, Mennonite Home North entrance. Ilana's desk, the front entrance. And Lydia's house back door. So Lydia's house side B, Cottage 7 area, you know where that's at. So there's 4 machines. Everybody that comes into those buildings, anybody that comes into a building on campus, we have to be screened. Temperature, questions, that sort of thing, right? So this was a step forward to improve our processes, to be more accurate, to alleviate any misses of misreporting, and to free up staff time. So we have those 4 machines. Today is our first actual live going in, with this AccuShield. So I just wanted to let you guys know that those machines are there. If you go to Quail Run to visit a resident, you have to be screened in to go into that building. The machine will be there. There should be a staff to help learn the process. You'll be temperature taken. You'll answer some questions. You'll be permitted to go in as long as all of your answers fit within the realm of approved answers. And you'll be given a sticker to wear to say the date, your name and the date, and that you're good to be in the building. And that way you don't just get questioned while you're there. That should be the same for all of the care areas. Come to see me and Jennifer. So far, you can still come in through our outside door. We have the same system as in this building, and you can still come to see us that way. Right now, you don't have to go through the front desk at Ilana's. That may change in the future, but right now, you can still just come directly to us. Okay, I'm hurrying, Craig. Okay, one last thing. I have spoken with Jeremy Kaufman, who works with Mennonite Health Services. He is our contact person. He's my contact person who's been working on this process of finding an interim executive director. And that group is also working on finding a permanent placement as an executive director. Jeremy wants to be very transparent with you and to hear you. You have said that you want a voice. So what he says is he is very willing to take comments, questions, priorities, concerns, what you have on your mind. You can send that to us. What he's going to do is he's going to read through all of that from you and try to answer all of those questions and alleviate some of those fears, right? He's going to make a recorded presentation to share with you the process that they're going through to find an executive director beyond the interim, because obviously that person is hopefully found. And so what's the process going to look like? Well, what we're going to do, and maybe she doesn't know this yet, but you're going to email Jennifer. You're going to email Jennifer your questions and your comments, much like town hall. The process when town hall rolls around, you have questions, you have topics, email them to Jennifer starting today. And then Jennifer and Lisa Ebersol will help organize all that. We'll get it off to Jeremy. Jeremy will read through all of that. He'll make his presentation. And then what I'm hoping is he's gonna work with Craig Spivey and myself to make that available to you, okay? On probably a different platforms.
What's Jeremy's last name?
Kaufman? Okay, yes. So email Jennifer today through the 16th.
16 or
16.
Okay.
I believe that's next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Now know that you're not going to have involvement with finding that permanent executive director employee.
I don't think you should say that.
Residents and staff, we are not going to be a part of the selection process. Maybe I understand where you're going. We're not going to sit on a panel and interview them, nor select them. Our voices will be heard. So involved in that level, is that where you're going? Okay, thank you. So yes, we will have that sort of involvement, but not the direct involvement with Jeremy or the team.
So basically, us sending questions and concerns to Jennifer, who sends it to Jeremy, that information will be included in when they're looking at candidates for the role of director.
So I would like to say I presume so. Jeremy has not said it in all of those words, Barbara. What I take is, my conversation with Jeremy is, he was asking for, like, what are those concerns? I am interested to hear from your residents. I'm going to presume that he's truly, genuinely interested to hear from you, and he'll do something with that.
Where does he live?
I don't know.
He lives in Indiana, but he comes out to Oregon at least once a month. And I think it's so very important that you share the changes that are happening, that you hope continue, that you share the priorities that you see for Mennonite Village. Because if you could imagine to have 350 villagers all involved in a formal process of the that would be impossible, but this is a really great way, and I think some common themes are going to be surfaced through your comments. So anything is allowed, and I am confident that Jeremy will answer those questions.
Larry?
Are you going to circulate this information to us about doing this, or is it up to us to do it to our areas?
Well, I'll be honest with you, all of these specific details of dates and emails, I mean, 5 minutes to 3 today, I concreted that, okay?
Yeah.
So, yes, I expect you to share with your area residents, but we will put something out just as soon as we can when we get back into the office, or by tomorrow morning to ask for the.
Well, I kind of like to see what you have before I spread it around. Make sure I get it right.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, ask me again.
What?
Ask me your question.
Would you send to us as soon as possible these details about what you want our residents to do in terms of responding to their concerns or interest in their input regarding the selection of a new CEO?
Okay. All right, so.
You know, the date, all the dates and all that sort of stuff.
Okay. So do you want me to send an email to each of you with?
Send an email like this, email blast like you
Yep.
sent out.
Okay.
It goes out to everybody,
Okay.
area reps, and the area reps could then take that same information, all of us will take the same information to area leads.
Okay.
Because if I'm writing things down here, I might.
Yep. Okay. Jennifer.
If you guys could spread the word to your area residents that don't have email, because the deadline for this information to get back is the 16th next week. So we don't have time for you to take it back to your area meeting specifically. So if you could just share it as soon as you get it, so we can get as much information back in the time frame necessary.
Because there is a percentage of residents who don't get those email blasts from us. So as you talk to people, ask them if they've heard about it. But yes, we can certainly get that out. Yep.
Are you going to send it to all the residents or just to us?
Nope, we'll get it to every resident that has an email on the list. Mary Ann?
And more immediate feedback from Mr. Jeremy Kaufman, who lives in Indiana, is the time limit he's given us is way too short.
Well,
Not your fault, but
no, it is my fault. Jeremy did not give us the time limit. So, what we talked about was, so the executive director position may not be found for several months down the road. It might be 6 months, it might be 3 months. It's not February 18th. So your input, your questions via us to Jeremy for his presentation is, I think that we have time for that. They are finding the interim executive director. Our questions and concerns are going for a permanent executive director.
how is Mr. Jeremy Kaufman, who lives in Indiana, chosen as the person who makes the decision about somebody I'm gonna live with till I die?
That's a good question.
That's why we're supposed to give input to you, so he knows what our concerns are.
Right.
Well,
That
and
doesn't
Mary
answer
Ann,
my question.
yeah, it won't be Jeremy's decision exclusively, independently. The Mennonite Village Board
Okay.
has a huge say in this. Jeremy is just leading the process.
Okay.
And so I plan to, everything that I shared with the candidate about the things that I think are really important, I've been very verbal with Brett, our board chair. He's very aware. And so the same summary I leave for the intern person is going to be left with the Mennonite Village Board of Directors. The Mennonite Village Board, they get to govern the Mennonite Village campus. So it won't be Jeremy in Indiana just making this decision by himself.
Right.
You know,
Right.
sorry, don't like him.
Please don't. He's very personable.
You're not a Hoosier fan.
He's been to campus, I don't know, several times that little me am aware of. I don't know how many times he's been here, but I think he's genuine and he does care. He wants to help lead that project in the best direction for you, and for you, and for us. Larry?
Well, this is a process that's as old as the hills, of having, this is a, for want of a better term, a headhunter organization that has national connections throughout the Mennonite community. And they know kind of who's out there that are potential candidates, and they put out advertisements and all that sort of thing. And they just find candidates for our board here then to look at and choose from. Am I explaining it right?
You are, but I think we have to be really careful because there have been a lot of questions asked about will the next person have to be Mennonite? And that is something that the board is talking about because they recognize it's most important to find somebody who has a passion for senior living, a passion for change, and that can uphold and support the Mennonite values that Mennonite Village was founded on.
True. Yeah.
So Mennonite Health Services, they do national recruiting and headhunting. That's a good word, Larry. I am on an email listserv of theirs. They recruit for positions all over the United States in all kinds of different communities. So certainly most of them are not Mennonite facilities, but they're all not-for-profits.
What percentage of the people who live on this campus are Mennonite?
It's I wish I knew the answer to that, Mary Ann. My guess is it's probably less than 20%, but that's a guess. I honestly don't know.
Years ago, there were some numbers put out, and Mennonites and Methodists were almost tied, and they were both below 20%.
Do you have any more questions for me? I apologize for running beyond 4 o'clock, which sets Craig up to be in the negative. I'm sorry, Craig.
Everybody needs to stand up or stretch. I understand you've been sitting a while.
Just don't go out the door.
Don't go out the door.
Oh, you just ran Donna out.
Yeah.
No, Donna has some other things to attend to, so.
All right, so first item that I have is meter reading for the power and the reading and the adjustment for the year. So we read the meters January 20th, and we've done that on January 20th. So your February statement is going to have a couple different things. So it's going to look a little different. You're going to have a new adjustment for the next coming year, and then you're also going to have what's it called? Basically your end of the year adjustment. So depending on how much that metering, we guess on all of the, it's kind of a prorated, we guess on how much usage you're going to have, and so there's kind of a catch-up period, and that's this next statement. People that had a pretty significant difference of $200 more or less, if you have to pay more than $200 to catch up, the business office is notifying you, and they should have already done that last week. So if you haven't got notified, you should have a balance of $200 or less. Sometimes that's a positive, sometimes that's a negative. It kind of is just all over. So we're catching up for the year, and that's kind of a normal thing around here. So if that's something new to you, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to Michelle or also the business office. Happy to answer any questions when it comes to that. Okay, next item is security. So I wanted to I've sent out a couple, we have sent out a couple security emails in the last couple weeks. We had an unfriendly visitor on campus that we actually had the police escort off campus. My staff, our facility staff did amazing. They did exactly what we've been talking about for the last 6 months, about approaching, or what are you here for? And then it just kind of it digressed from there, and we had to get the police involved, and they were called and had him escorted off. We also had some reports of window tapping, or not even tapping, but knocking. And I just want to stress the importance of making sure that you report that, and that was done very well. The security action team, I was in communication with them that weekend when that was happening. We emailed back and forth trying to get to the bottom of it. We sent that communication out, so I appreciate people reporting, letting me know that something's happening, and we all got involved and tried to get the notification out as soon as possible. One thing to mention is how important it is to get the cold, hard facts. Sometimes when we have, well, my neighbor so-and-so, I think they have that same thing. It's hard to have accurate reporting, so we're truly trying to have accurate reporting so we know how many of these instances we actually had on campus. And just trying to, we want to weed out, as soon as the notification came out, we had a lot more people say, oh yeah, I think I had that, and it's hard to know if we had that legitimate concern. I would say and I want to stress this more than enough, and I think everybody in this room, you've heard this all last year, new area reps, you're going to hear this again. If there is window tapping on a window, that is merit for calling the police. Please call the police. I spoke with some residents, they were really actually scared, terrified, I would say, that there was somebody outside their house, but they didn't call the police. And that is something that we got to change our thinking. We have to change our thinking to say, okay, someone's outside my house, and I don't think it's my neighbor just knocking at my door. I got to pick up the phone and I got to call the police. So stress that, help us communicate that. The security action team, we've been talking about this, and hopefully we're going to be promoting that and talking with residents as we go about. So any questions on that, you can ask me, or you can even talk to the security group and get questions answered there.
Greg,
Yes?
when you say call the police, you mean in that instance 911?
911, yes.
Thank you.
Yep, 911. All right, we have a garden change in fees. So I'm going to try to do my best without getting super detailed, just what we're trying to accomplish here. We've talked to the garden coordinators and just a little history on our garden area. So we have regular plot garden beds, or garden plots, and then we have raised beds. I want to say, and this was before my time, I've been here 14 years, I think about 15, 20 years ago, some of you that have been here longer, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe 15 or 20 years ago, the idea was brought that we should have a raised bed out at the garden where residents don't have to, stoop down or kneel down to weed, and so we wanted to offer that. Back then, we thought, okay, well, we're going to come up with a cost for a bed, and residents, if you want to pay that, we'll kind of spread that over, 3, 4, 5 years, and you can have a raised bed. And we'll build it, we'll fill it with dirt. Mennonite Village will provide the water for that bed. And so 15, 20 years later, we had a couple beds. We now have 108 beds, which is a lot. So trying to manage this is challenging. The garden coordinators can attest to that. Just how many different people are involved in trying to get all these beds accounted for. We really want to invest in the garden because thank goodness for the garden last year, am I right? I mean, that was a space that we could all come together last summer and we could see the big giant pumpkin growing. We could have those kind of outdoor gatherings, and I really feel like that was kind of our social ability out in the village. So we recognize that, we want to invest in it, but we're trying to get something that's a little more sustainable because right now, if we were to say, hey, if a new resident wanted a bed, you pay for the cost of the box, we'll fill it with dirt, we'll build it, fill it with dirt, put it in place, and get the water going. That materials cost would be $450 to build a bed. And so I don't think any of you would spend $450 to garden or to buy a bed. So we're trying to come up with an affordable way that we can have you guys be able to, garden and have that opportunity. So what we've come up with is this change in structure. Instead of having this, you buy it once, and then, when you can either give it up, or you can even, we've had it people where, some residents inherit it from other people, and so it's kind of convoluted. So what we're coming up with is straight across the board, it's $25 per year to rent, not rent the bed, but that's your bed. And you can have that year to year. So $25 an annual fee. That's going to go right back into us being able to build more boxes, maintain the boxes. The 108 boxes, the older ones, they're starting to fall apart. So we've got to start getting those replaced. Jeff and I, we've been talking about another way to build these boxes out of maybe another material so they last longer. So we're trying to get some of that stuff put into place. So that's what we're going to be proposing. This charge would come out kind of in the June 1st statement. That would be on your statement, your bill for the month. And so we won't have to try to pay cash to the garden coordinators and they get it to the business office. We're trying to simplify things and make everybody's life a lot easier. So $25 straight across. If you want a second box, if we have a second box, then it's $25 for that too. So that would be $50 if you have 2 boxes.
What happens if you don't want to have it now?
What was that again?
What if somebody didn't want to have the box then?
They call me.
Yeah, if you don't want the box, if you say, okay, I don't want to pay the $25, you would let the garden coordinators know that you're releasing that box, and we'll give it to the really wait list, three boxes that we need. Okay, I think I covered the basis on it. Like I said, any questions, you can talk to the garden coordinators also. We've been in conversation about this. They know what's happening here. You can also ask me any questions about that. Yeah?
What about in-ground plots? Are they still?
In-ground plots are free. That's at no cost. We want, and then if we need to expand that, we will get enough plots out there. Okay, bark dust application. So February 21st, which is in a couple weeks, we're going to have bark dust applied across campus, starting on the 21st. So if some of you that remember last year, we had some of the carriers, so Mennonite Home, and we went up the back berm side of Becker Circle, and we did the Quail Run. We had the Bark Boys come in with their big trucks, and they blew bark dust. Got all done in like, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. It was an amazing time saver. I've been doing some cost analysis and trying to figure out, can we do this across campus? Save time, save our grounds guys from having to spend months and months of trying to apply bark. And so we're going to actually have bark boys come in and they're going to do our full campus, starting the 21st. We are going to try to do our best to let you know, if we are let known, when they are going to be here. I would say this, have your beds ready. If you've got the little garden gnome sitting and you don't want that to be, pull it out, put it in your garage for a couple weeks, wait till the bark dust gets applied, and then put it back. The 21st is where they're going to start. Depending on how many trucks they get, we might be able to get this done in a week and a half. We have 3 weeks slotted for this. So we could be anywhere from a week to 3 weeks in general. So just be ready for that. Have residents be ready. We've sent communications out in the village update. We'll send another communication out as we get closer, just trying to make sure everybody's aware. If you do not want bark dust, please let the grounds department know. Let Jeff know, or you can call maintenance and a work order in if you want to, and they can put you on the list of no barking. We'll do our best to make sure that doesn't happen. Yes?
I noticed they're weeding down here.
Yes.
Will they have all the weeds, or do we have to do it?
We are working our hardest to get everything all weeded before this happens. So yes, we should be all the way around campus, prepping all those beds. The grounds guys are working super hard trying to get that accomplished before that. So yes, that should be. And if for some reason we don't get quite to it, we'll hold them off for a little bit and we'll make sure we get you everything weeded. So let me make sure I got everything in there. I think so. Yes, Comcast. Comcast, so just to let you guys know, me and Cliff have been talking to Comcast for probably, it was back in Thanksgiving before Christmas time. We have a 5-year annual contract that we have to renew with our bulk account. That's your guys' Comcast little boxes for your TV. We've been talking with them and we're talking about upgrading our service to standard definition to high definition. Now, this is good news for us. We get away from the standard definition, go to high definition, which most TVs are high definition, so you're going to get a better picture. You're going to get all that. Some of you residents have decided to upgrade to HD, and you get a video recorder and all that. That will be a standard package now, so you won't have to pay that monthly increase in that HD package.
Oh, great.
So that's something we're trying to work out and get that so it flies. So we're working through that. There's a lot of stuff that is kind of jumbled up into this, and this is why I wanted to let you guys know what's happening. So channel 981, we had our upgraded converter box. For a little bit of time, a couple days, we actually broadcast in HD. And for those of you that had HD, you had a wonderful picture. But those of you that had SD, you didn't have a picture. So we decided that this upgrade is going to be able to, where we're going to be able to broadcast in HD for channel 981. So that's going to be a much better thing. That's all kind of tied into this. And so we're trying to get that done. The other thing that we're working through and dealing with is Davidson, 53rd and 54th. We've got some old cabling in those houses that we are having. I call these they're not roadblocks, they're little bumps in the road that we've got to work through. So we've got some cabling that needs to be upgraded. We've done a survey. We've got about 100 addresses that we have to get some of that cabling upgraded. So we're trying to work through with Comcast to make a plan so that we can get this upgrade done. Back in November, I would have expected that we would have already signed the contract. This would have been a done deal, but we've had some bumps in the road. So we're working through that, trying to get that worked through. My goal is that, hopefully late spring, early summer, we would have this package available to you guys. Everybody has HD. Everybody's a lot happier. So that's our goal. That's what we're striving for. But we're working through some of that. But just know, those of you that have an upgrade in that HD, you will be able to have that for free and not have to pay for that. So that was a lot. Any questions? All right.
Well, this was of concern to one of our people from my area, so I have to bring it to you. Concern about moss in the yards. Do you have a program, are you doing something on a schedule or anything like that?
Yeah, we're trying really hard. Me and Jeff have been talking the last 6 weeks, 2 months about moss treatment. We got moss on roofs,
Right.
we got moss in yards, we got moss everywhere. And we're really trying hard to get some of that, the big pockets of moss, get that dealt with. Jeff's got it's a system of how to treat those yards and then keep it up. Some of our yards have been kind of mistreated for a long time, and so if the moss is kind of encroached, and getting rid of it is very, very difficult. So we have plans. It's going to take some time. If you have specific yards that are just really, really bad, call in a work order. If you have moss on your roofs that is very, very bad, please call in a work order. We're trying to get around campus and treat that moss, but I want to target those really, really bad areas. And the squeaky wheel sometimes gets the grease, I will say that. So put in a work order. Don't hesitate to put in a work order. I can't say that enough, for sure. Any other comments, questions? All right, Mel, you're back.
There's no old business to go through, but there's some new business items. There's a couple of items that were brought to my attention after the meeting, so I'll cover those now. The one was in the update asking for people that might be interested in a training program that is called Stop the Bleed. What this training program is about is somebody gets cut. How do you get the bleeding to stop? And if they get seriously injured, i.e. the grounds people are out there and something happens, the machine gets away from them and a serious cut or injury occurs, how do you stop that? Has anybody seen arterial bleeding? Yeah, Larry, I imagine you did. Arterial bleeding is when it goes with your heartbeat. Serious. If you don't get that stopped very, very quickly, just kiss them goodbye because it's over. So we have a training opportunity coming. The exact date has not been defined yet, but it's going to be presented free of charge to any and all residents of Mennonite Village that care to participate. And I've requested, and I think it's going to happen, that all maintenance personnel be involved in this, because the maintenance people are dealing with some serious machinery that could cause injury. But they're out and about, and if a resident needs help, they're probably going to be the first ones on the scene. So the Stop the Bleed is a pretty realistic training program. They bring in dummy limbs, and some of these dummy limbs have holes in them imitating gunshot wounds or slices, etc. And yes, they bleed. They go, and guess what you get to do? Stop the bleeding. And this whole program came about from the military doctors in Afghanistan and Iraq that the majority of the injured soldiers and Marines, etc., were saved if they could stop the bleeding. So this is a fantastic opportunity for us as part of the emergency preparedness program. Right now, I have 13 residents signed up. I wish I had about 395 signed up because it's serious business. Additionally, we're going to be starting in and hoping to bring in a training program called CERT. It's Community Emergency Response Training. It's how do you go about protecting yourself from a disaster, and then two, how do you recover from the disaster and help your neighbors, et cetera, et cetera. Part of that package is what's called Map Your Neighborhood. Now here's the deal, area reps. I know that you've got duties and you've got things going on in your life. So I'm not asking you specifically, though that would be great. I'm asking that you communicate with your area residents and get one or two of them to volunteer to come and participate in this Map Your Neighborhood training program. This training program was started by a woman in California. She moved up to Washington. It's gangbusters in Washington. Somehow Washington and Oregon got crosswise with each other, and anyway, we're going to start putting on a Map Your Neighborhood training program that basically an area gets together. They talk about where the shutoffs are, where this is, who needs help because they've got mobility issues, who needs help because they have medical issues. Here's a sign to put in your window. Well, if there's no sign, then that means they're either unable to get the sign in the window or it's pointless to put the sign in the window. So how do you handle stuff like that? So those are some of the training programs that the Emergency Preparedness Program are bringing together. And we're hoping that we get 100% participation. It's not too late, just a minute, Virginia, I'll be right with you. It's not too late, though I asked that the names be submitted by last Friday. If you want to get in on the Stop the Bleed program, please get a hold of me, get your name into me, and I'm going to be talking to, I'm going to be meeting with Rick Lentz, who is the guy at Lynn County Sheriff's Department that's going to do this training. I'm going to take that class Thursday evening. So maybe we can have a chat and say, whoo, this is good stuff. So anyway, so that's what's coming. And again, if you have any questions about the Emergency Preparedness Program, the go bag issues that have been on the 981 for the past couple of weeks and will be for another couple of weeks, just get a hold of me. All right, so enough of that. Let's move on to the area reps, questions, comments, etc.
I no longer am taking prescription bottles or any other bottles for that matter, so please let your residents know that. I was initially looking for the small 2 to 3 inch prescription bottles, and I don't have a place to send those to, but somebody's been leaving big bottles, so nothing, zero.
Okay. Virginia?
These programs sound terrific, they're great, but it's my understanding, has been since I moved in, that we are not allowed to help somebody even off the ground. As an independent.
I'm going to step way out on a limb, and Sue can pull me back, Jennifer can pull me back, or Craig can knock me down. Okay. You are discouraged from doing that because if the person's on the ground and you reach down to try to help them up and you injure yourself, that's what they don't want to have happen. But how long does it, Larry and Phil, how long does it take for a person with arterial bleeding to bleed out?
Depends where they're cut and how big the artery is.
Okay, give you an idea.
That's not what she's asking.
No.
But this is what it's all about.
There's no answer to that. There's no answer.
So when a person...
Okay, since you asked that, arteries, when they're cut, try to stop the bleeding, and so there is an automatic physiological contraction.
Right.
And so arterial bleeding can stop on its own. So for you to ask me that question, I can't answer that because it depends. Now, if you go across the aorta or the carotid, that's a little more serious.
Right.
But veins, on the other hand, keep bleeding and bleeding and bleeding because they don't have a muscular contraction. But arteries will stop on their own.
Okay.
But it's still what you're wanting to do here is still important. I just can't answer the question the way that.
Let me turn the question around. How many of you would want somebody to stop your bleeding? And if you're not trained, if there's nobody around that's trained, bye-bye.
What I'm saying now is, what is the policy of the Mennonite Village for independent living?
Let me jump in on that. There is none. It's up to you as to whether you want to do something to help somebody or not.
I didn't hear it's true.
That's not what we were told.
So-
That's not what we told.
Yes, sir. Let's sue.
The idea is not to help someone up off the ground because that could injure them more severely and you could injure yourself.
Right.
That's stated.
Right.
Any other kind of help, I have never heard anything about it.
And staff isn't even supposed to, because I know the wellness people, they can't, someone fell in an exercise class. They could not help them up
Right.
because of liability.
Right.
Well, I think that one important part that I see as obvious is, one, call 911.
Yes.
Get those trained professionals on scene ASAP. Step two, if you have some knowledge from courses, if you're certified in courses, what have you, if you have that instinct to help. Most of you raised your hand, you wanted help. We're gonna help because that's who we are. We don't have a policy to say that we can't apply some pressure after 911 is called or somebody else is calling it to help each other out. We don't have a policy like that. We do have a policy that we are no lift.
Right.
And the no lift is really so that you don't hurt yourself, but you don't hurt that person on the floor either, because we are not looking at x-rays and we are not trained professionals for the most part to know if there's a spinal injury or some sort of a fracture that might cause further damage. So 911, and then help that person on the floor feel more comfortable, reassured, that sort of thing, until those guys get here, that paramedics get here.
But Nell's talking about something different. You call 911 and they can't come because there's been a disaster. CERT training, I've been through CERT training, helps you triage. What do? I said, I can't pick up anybody up. My God, I can hardly pick up myself in the morning. But the triage helps you through the steps. This step, try this. You know, how bad is it? Sometimes it's just keeping somebody calm till they die.
And in an emergency situation, right, policies kind of go
You betcha.
out the window. I mean, we're talking about lives and we're talking about human beings.
I would just add, I would encourage people to take this because it's not that hard. It's not that, the main thing, really some very simple principles, but it's good if you know them.
Yep.
But it's not a big scary thing that you can't do, anybody can do it.
Okay. I was asked one more item. I know this is the AR question and comment time frame. Oh, you don't, look at the clock.
I have something from my area.
Yeah,
Are you ready?
go for it.
Okay. How many of you have been around the big field?
What?
Which big field?
The big field toward the freeway.
All the way around.
All the way around. Okay. How many of you have, let's see, what's my other question?
A bicycle or tricycle.
Yeah, that also. How many of you would like to have that improved to make it nicer?
For walking.
For walking and tricycles and bicycles. Okay, I am working with maintenance. I've talked to Jeff, and they are going to start working on that. Actually, I walked around there, I pushed my tricycle around because it was too muddy, I couldn't ride it yesterday. And it's really in pretty good shape, but with some effort and continued attention, it could be a really, really nice walking, triking, bicycling path all the way around there. There should be about minimum of 4 benches put around for people to sit on. But they are going to start working on that, and I just want to get a sense of support so that I can pass it on to Greg and Jeff, that this is something that, yes, we would, as a council, we would support. And the other thing is, possibly, in the past, when Mary Jane and I were foundation directors, we raised money for projects like this that people contributed through the foundation, so that'd be another additional possibility.
Two things about that. The security advisor team has already spoken about part of that, not for that purpose of recreation, but for as a fire break between the trees along the creek and the lake and the field. That part needs to be wider and improved. But also, I can tell you, we have a lot of problems with people coming in down the trail along the creek here. If we're putting something like that there, there's gonna have to be some means to keep them from coming from Three Lakes Drive, like a fence right there, in spite of the farmer's problem, a fence right at the overpass. So we're just inviting more homeless people to come in that way, which is already a problem that we're dealing with.
My response to that is, it's already wide open. There's nothing to keep them coming now. And I think if there's more activity of more people from the village back there, they'll be less likely to camp back there, because they don't like to camp where there's a lot of people walking through.
Those people come at night.
I was asked, informed that we had our area rep training program, Jennifer and I, in December, and it was mentioned that some area reps had questions, but they didn't feel comfortable speaking up in a large group. They weren't sure about how to do stuff, and it was suggested that we have smaller area rep sessions, training sessions, to get you brought up to speed on how to play the game and what to do, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm all for that if that's what you want. I'm open to all kinds of questions, and having been on the instructing side of many different things and over 25,000 hours of teaching, I'll get up in front of a group and teach, or answer questions, or do whatever it takes to get the job done. So if you are uncertain about what it is to do here in the area or in the village council, if you want to have smaller groups to bat ideas back and forth, we have in the past a couple of years, Ray, correct me on this, but we've had discussions about how do you get your residents involved? How do you communicate with them? Blah, blah, blah. We've had meetings like that. So if there's any issue that you are having as an area rep and you just sitting there going, how in the world do I do this? Get on the blower, that's the British term for get on the phone, or internet, and get a hold of myself or Tim, and we'll set up a get-together and discuss all this stuff. So, it's back to you folks. Comments, questions, concerns, etc. Your turn. Okay.
Meeting adjourned.
Second. Amen.
I'll second it.
There was a motion, there was a second, and a third. All those in favor? And the paddles go in the cupboard.